Hey folks, this is Kalani. We have a big update this week for patch 10.0.7, including a whole bunch of class changes, buffs and nerfs. The big paladin rework is finally taking shape, and it looks like retribution could be incredibly powerful for the rest of the Dragonflight expansion, and it might just be the longest list of class changes I've ever seen in one little patch. There are also updates to the new gear catch-up mechanics coming in the next patch that will allow you to earn even higher item level gear, as well as a new transmog set. There are other catch-ups being implemented for other areas of character progression, and we have more specifics about how this whole primordial stone thing is going to work, including how to upgrade your stones to get that sweet free item level 424 ring. There's a lot to talk about, so let's break it all down. Before we jump in, be sure to hit up that like button and subscribe so you never miss another video. Let's kick things off with the class changes. This might be one of the larger rounds of changes for patch 10.0.7, and it also includes the first real look at how much paladins are getting changed, especially retribution, but there are actually a lot of other classes getting big changes this week too. Death Knights are up first, as per usual. We were promised some unholy changes in previous weeks, and they're starting to come through. We have changes to some passives and talents. Some talents have been removed or moved in the talent tree. There are quite a few changes to how Defile works, as well as a few buffs thrown in for good measure. For the Demon Hunters, fodder to the Flame Demons will spawn closer to you, and the Demon Soul that drops should be closer to you whenever possible. There are some buffs for Havoc talents like Blind Fury, and a few talents have been shifted around. For Vengeance, fodder to the Flame Demons will have less health, so hopefully one glaive throw should do the trick. Druids only have a couple of changes, but they could be quite important. For balance, Stellar Flare has been given an additional effect for PvP. If it is dispelled, the Dispeller will trigger an AoE with a knockback, so you can't just dispel Druid dots willy-nilly. For Resto, a change to Innovate has been reverted, so the Natural Wisdom passive will no longer be a baseline talent. For the Evokers, it's only small changes, I'm afraid. Ouroboros has been redesigned, and Fluttering Seedlings healing was increased by 20%. Hunters will also see some small but very nice changes. Rejuvenating Winds also now gives 4% max health per rank, giving hunters a bit more health to work with so they can survive a little bit longer. For marksmanship, Steady Focus and Tactical Reload have been swapped back, and a few talent connections have been changed. Moving on, we come to the Monks. Mistweavers will see some changes to Zen Pulse and how that ability works. Enveloping Breath has been renamed, and there are some tracking changes as well as some talent changes. For the Windwalkers, Inner Peace has been buffed in a few ways, and Rising Star has seen some adjustments too, and then there's a small buff for Phaeline Harmony as well. Now before we continue, today's video is sponsored by Displate. Displates are high quality designs printed on metal. They're sturdy, long lasting, and most importantly, they look fantastic. Unboxing Displates is always a treat. Just look at how amazing these are straight out of the box. The boxes are also great for securely stowing away any displates you might not be using too, so you can always keep your displate collection safe. There are so many choices, from branded designs, artistic designs, fun random things. The variety is kind of crazy, so you'll definitely find something that suits your aesthetic, whatever room you're showing these displates off in. The unique magnet mounting system also makes it very easy to put your displates up wherever you want to, and there's zero drilling involved so you don't damage your walls. Just wipe down the wall with the provided clean wipe, stick on the protective leaf, slap that magnet right in the middle, and you're good to go. You can pop your displates up, reposition them to fit perfectly, or quickly swap them out whenever you want. The flexibility of this hanging method makes displates a great alternative to paper or canvas printing, and if you use the link in the description or our discount code on screen, you'll get 22% off 1 or 2 displates and 33% off 3 or more displays, so it's a great time to find some perfect displates for your gaming setup or anywhere else. Now getting back to the video, Paladins are up next, and strap yourselves in because this might be one of the longest list of changes I have seen in a very long time. This is actually kind of insane for a small patch. There have been a lot of changes to the class tree, so it's not just a ret rework, it's kind of like a whole Paladin rework. I'll pop the live talent tree and PTR talent tree up on the screen so you can see how many changes have been made here. Lots of talents have moved around, there are so many new talents being added in here. Obviously some talents have been removed to make room, but some effects have also just been made baseline or baked into other abilities, so in some cases you aren't actually losing anything to get these new talents, which is the best place to be in any kind of class rework in my opinion. Some of these talents also seem very strong, like Sanctified Plates, 20% armor, 10% stamina, and 10% reduced damage from AoE effects. That's like 3 talents all rolled into one. That's kind of crazy. On top of all of that, Divine Shield was given some extra functionality, and Divine Steed was taken off the global cooldown and given an extra second duration baseline. For Holy specifically, the Aura Mastery for Ret Aura was changed, which makes sense, Ret Aura changed itself, and some talents were shifted around due to the big class tree rework. For Protection, quite a few talents were moved to the class tree, a lot of talents were moved around, some new talents were thrown in, and there are also quite a few buffs to look forward to. And then here come the Ret changes, another massive list. I'll show you the live Ret Paladin tree alongside the PTR tree just like we did for the class tree, so you can see the whole thing has been remade more or less. The shape of the talent tree is completely different with different connections and nodes. There are a crazy number of new talents being packed in here, new AoE and cleave options, different ways to empower your builders and spenders, talents to change up your rotation and gameplay, and there are also a lot of buffs thrown in for baseline abilities and popular talent choices too. A lot of cooldowns have been reduced as well, like Wake of Ashes being knocked down to a 30-second cooldown. It's going to be a lot of fun digging through these changes to come up with different playstyles for your Ret Paladin. Hopefully they end up in a good place because the rework looks like it could be a lot of fun with all the options you're going to have to play around with, and this probably isn't even finished yet. This is the first round of big changes for Ret in the PTR files, so expect more changes and fine-tuning as we lead up to patch 10.0.7's release date. Moving on, priests have a few bug fixes for class stuff as well as fixes for discipline spells. For Holy, there are quite a few changes to how Divine Image is going to work, making it a guaranteed trigger instead of just a chance to trigger. There are some buffs to Lightwell and a few bug fixes too. Shadow will also see some bug fixes for Void Eruption, Echoing Void, and Shadowy Apparitions. Shamans also have some bug fixes and quality of life changes, but not really any direct buffs or nerfs to talk about this week. And then we're going to round things out with the Warlocks, who have more changes than I would have expected any other class in this week's patch notes. Summon Soulkeeper is getting some more buffs, Inquisitor's Gaze is getting a 270% damage increase, a few talents have been removed from the class tree, and some new talents are coming in to replace them. Lots of talents are also being shifted around, so expect your class tree to look quite a bit different when this patch rolls around. Interestingly, Warlocks are yet again one of the only classes to get some proper in-depth dev notes to go over the changes that are being made and the whys behind the changes you're seeing. I actually wish every class had some dev notes when larger changes are being made. For Affliction specifically, Dark Glare has been redesigned, a few talents have been removed from the spec tree, and some new talents are being added in to take their place. Demonology will see the same kind of treatment, quite a few new talents, some nice buffs to Reign of Tyranny, a 200% damage increase for Guillotine, and a cooldown reduction buff too, as well as a handful of other changes. And then last but not least, Destruction has a couple of changes to Burn to Ashes, and Mayhem will also be tracked under the personal resource bar. That's all for the class changes this week. As you can see, lots of changes are being made, and the Paladin rework is actually on the PTR now, so if you're a Ret Paladin especially, be sure to hop onto the PTR to see how things are changing. There are actually a lot of class changes here that I didn't really expect. When the Paladin changes were coming through, I fully expected everyone else to kind of get slim pickings, but a handful of classes actually saw a lot of changes, so this patch is humming along quite nicely in terms of class changes and balance tuning. Moving on, another update this week is going to make patch 10.0.7 even better for gear catch-up and easy gearing in general. If you didn't know already, there are some new gear tokens coming in 10.07 that let you create item level 385 gear. This is the upgraded Primal Storm gear, so you can skip over the whole currency farm to buy 359 gear and Storm Sigil farming to upgrade it. You can just straight up create item level 385 gear using these tokens. They are also bind on account, so you can send them to any of your alts to quickly gear up a fresh alt or any characters that might have been left behind. These tokens are also very easy to acquire. They can drop from rare monsters in the new Forbidden Reach zone, and they will also probably come from treasure farming, maybe from quest rewards. As long as you play in the Forbidden Reach, you'll probably end up with more gear tokens than you can actually use, so I don't think they're going to be hard to get at all. The other point that makes these tokens so useful is that they cover more gear slots than Primal Gear did previously. Pretty much every gear slot is covered with these BOA gear tokens, including jewelry, trinkets, and even weapons. So if you've been struggling to fill in those gaps for any of your characters, these gear tokens should help you out a lot. But the update that came through this week lets you upgrade 385 Primal Gear even further, so whether you get this gear in patch 10.07 from these new tokens, or whether you have this gear already because it's some of the best gear available to open solo world content players, you can upgrade it in patch 10.0.7 to make it even better. Upgrading your 385 gear is just as easy as any other upgrades too. Just take the gear to an item upgrade vendor and slot it in. We can see that the upgrade will boost your item level up to 395, so that's a nice boost to any Primal Storm gear you might be using, but it also means that the new gear catch-up tokens in 10.07 will start at item level 385, but they can also be upgraded to 395, so the entire catch-up system in place is actually 10 item levels higher than we previously thought it would be. To upgrade this gear, you're going to need a new item called Untapped Forbidden Knowledge. You'll be able to collect these from killing rares, looting treasures, and completing events, so basically everything you'll already be doing to get the gear tokens in the first place, or farm Scarab keys for the Vault feature. So as long as you're taking part in the Forbidden Reach content, you should also come across these upgrade items quite naturally. Now this upgrade item is currently bind on pickup, which means that while you can trade the BOA tokens around for that quick 385 gear, actually upgrading that gear will require you to play the character in the new zone. Maybe they'll become BOA later on, we're not too sure yet, but I figured that is worth mentioning. This isn't just great for easily upping your item level though, the newly upgraded Primal Storm gear also comes with a new recolor of the armor set. Instead of the usual blue, the upgraded gear has a green color of the same set. So we don't get a brand new set of gear to collect sadly, but we do get a green recolor of these super cool gear sets, which might be more to your liking. The green set has actually been in the game files for a while now, we just didn't have any way of obtaining it, but now we do. So whether you want the easy 395 item level or the new green set transmog, these new item upgrades give you some extra things to look forward to in patch 10.0.7. It's not just gear catch-ups being introduced in this patch though, we also have some chances to catch up with reputation gains as well. One of the daily quests available in the Forbidden Reach questing hub asks you to choose one of the 4 major factions in the Dragon Isles to help for that day. So you can go with the Dragon Scale Expedition, the Ascara Tuskar, the Marek Centaur, or the Valdrakken Accord. This works exactly like the Rathian or Sibelian choice quest. Instead of it being on a weekly reset, it's on a daily reset, so you can change your choice each day and help out whichever faction you want to earn some more rep and renown with. By choosing a faction for the day, you'll get a 10% bonus to all rep gains with that faction for the entire day. There's a quick hand-in that gives you a bunch of elemental overflow, and then you can also pick up some special daily quests specific to the faction you choose. So it's just an extra little kick of rep gains to help you finish off those renowned tracks, or maybe start working on them if you've been ignoring them up until this point. That rep bonus should work for other kinds of rep farming too, like the item hand-ins, daily quests, world quests, all that stuff. So if you have a bunch of the totems or relics to hand in, it might be worth picking up the appropriate 10% rep bonus in 10.07 and hand everything in all at once, just to get the max value out of the rep items. And then to round out this video, we also have way more specifics about how all this Primordial stone stuff is going to work. There were quite a few questions left over from the initial previews, like how to remove stones from your ring, how to dismantle excess stones into fragments, and how to use those fragments to build up and upgrade your collection. Well, all of those questions actually have answers in the latest build, so let's see how they all work for real. Removing socketed stones from your Onyx Amulet is going to be very simple. After a quick quest line where you need to find a jeweler's kit and a special anvil in the Scarab vaults, you'll unlock 2 upgrades in the Forbidden Reach questing hub. One is supposed to be a little jewelcrafters table kind of thing, and then the other is an anvil. In the current build, it's a little bugged, so they appear and disappear sometimes, but if you walk next to this bench or fancy rug, you'll get an extra action button called Pluck Out Primal Stone. Just open up your ring socket menu, and you can use the extra action button to remove any stone you wish. The stone pops back into your inventory, so you can swap things around as often as you want, but you are currently limited to this specific location for making any changes. So you won't be able to change things mid-raid, or mid-dungeon, or really anywhere out in the world except for the Forbidden Reach. This is actually kind of surprising to me, because the last time we saw this kind of mechanic was back in Shadowlands with the Shards of Domination. For that system, they made an item that you could carry in your inventory that let you pop shards out of your gear, but for this new ring, they want you to be locked into just one location. I don't really like that. Freedom to change things and experiment is always better in my opinion, but with how limited the scope of this ring is going to be, it's not supposed to have any longevity in regards to patch 10.1 and beyond, for example, maybe it won't be that big of a deal. We'll have to wait and see how it pans out when the patch goes live. Crushing your stones into fragments works in more or less the exact same way. You walk over to the nearby anvil and you'll be given a different extra action button, Break Primordial Stone. You'll need to be a bit more careful with this one, because there isn't an easy way to get your stones back if you fragment the wrong one, so make sure you're breaking down a stone you don't care about, and you'll be given 6 dormant primordial fragments. This does mean that anybody and everybody can break down their own stones, so you won't have to rely on a jewelcrafter for that. These fragments are going to have 2 main uses, to buy more stones and to upgrade your stones. To buy more stones, you can talk to the researcher NPC right next door. Curiously, you can also buy an onyx amulet ring here, so if you happen to destroy yours by accident, or maybe you want to set up 2 different rings with different stones for different types of content, maybe there's some potential there to limit how much you need to revisit the Forbidden Reach to tinker with your stone slots. Definitely not ideal to have 2 rings, but the option is there, I guess. But the main point here is that you can buy families of primordial stones. So there's fire stones, frost stones, earth, nature, arcane, shadow, and necromantic stones. So if you know your best stone is a fire stone, you can keep buying the firestone family item until you get the exact fire stone you're looking for. Being able to buy the actual stone directly would obviously save you some RNG headache, but I guess families of stones is better than just one item that could contain any stone, so it's less RNG than it could be, but it is still RNG, which is going to be annoying. Thankfully, if you get a stone you don't want, you can just smash it for another 6 fragments, so you will get a bit of a refund there if you don't get the stone you want. All in all, this vendor should make it pretty easy to acquire the stones you want for your onyx amulet ring. The other use for the fragments is to upgrade your stones. Jewelcrafters will get a new recipe that costs 10 dormant fragments and 25 silken gem dust to craft. Using the unstable elementium will strengthen the power of a primordial stone, increasing its item level. We don't know how many times we need to upgrade a stone to max out the item level, but we do know that stones start at item level 411 and then they should max out at item level 424. That gives us 13 item levels to work with, so probably 3 to 4 item levels per upgrade, which will probably mean about 4 upgrades to max out the stone, give or take. We don't have any specifics just yet, but that does line up with other upgrade paths like Mythic Plus gear or rated PvP gear. Upgrading a stone just increases its effectiveness, so a set of 3 fully upgraded stones could be quite powerful overall. Now, because Unstable Elementium is bind on pickup, this is an item you'll have to make a crafting order for at the crafting order clerks in Valdrakken, so I would make friends with a jewelcrafter before this patch goes live if you want to secure a nice steady stream of Elementium upgrades. Now, if you want to learn this recipe as a jewel crafter, you're going to need to do some rare camping. The recipe drops from a specific rare in the Forbidden Reach called Amethyst. The drop rate will decide whether this is just a minor inconvenience or a bloodbath. If the drop rate for this recipe is low, say Elemental Lariat low, I would say that's going to be a huge mistake, especially with the changes to how restrictive public orders have become. If the recipe is fairly common, which I think it should be, then there will most likely be enough jewel crafters out there to cover the upgrading needs of everyone. This does give jewel crafters a lot more power as we head into patch 10.07 though, so I would make sure you have at least one jewel crafter in your guild, your circle of friends, or failing that, at least pick up jewel crafting on one of your alts. But that's all of the specifics about how primordial stones are working right now, some quick updates for the game, and this week's round of huge class changes, including actual information on how paladins are changing. So, what do you think of the big paladin overhaul from what you've seen so far? Are there any other classes you think need the same kind of rework treatment? Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and to all of our members here on YouTube. You can see the names floating by on screen. If you'd like to add your name to the end of every video with a special shout out at the start of the next video, you can find links in the description over to Patreon or click the join button just below this video. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss another video. Thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I'll see you next time.